Hi there everybody, my name is Kate and welcome to my channel, Trinergy Awakens Naturally. I want to talk to you, let's chat, man, a lot of stuff going on. Timeless message, but let's pull it current because we're always going to have supermoons, we're always going to have full moons, and we're always going to have cycles of this process of living life on Earth. And it involves a whole lot of constellation activity up in cosmology, as well as a whole lot of information that human beings really haven't accurately or efficiently dealt with that recently in the last, I don't know, a couple thousand years maybe or so. I don't really know about the long-standing history of how long it's been ganked up, just that it's very strong transmission in my communication with divine that we're here to get this stuff in line. Please use these supermoons, the blue moon, and the elements that are available to you. Let's find a way that we can open that all up so that you can see every resource you have is far beyond anybody you're looking at to try to help you, or any process or anything, any one thing. We have our own brilliance inside that absolutely helps guide, but it will be more important to know that that's a great creative source. Yes, it is. It's also a great guide and compass and gyroscope for how you go seek your help from other people also. We are not independent, isolated, I just do this on my own only. And we're also not just completely absorbed into the community. We need to bring into balance what is a very polarized experience. We're used to it being a very polarized experience, and we have split our psyches out into believing in the either or pretty heavily. We're pretty sure that it's either right or it's wrong, and we slam down very, very hardcore sometimes based on our prejudice and fear. We slam down on some boundaries that are very super tight, very narrow window, as in that's a line right there. And that's really, a black and white, that could use some gray out right there. Let's gray that out just a little bit and see that I think there might be a little bit more to that than what we're currently perceiving, right? And then in those areas where it's just super vague, let's tighten that up into something that's tangible, because if there's no framework for this, it turns into the chaos here. And then you have some that are chaosing very well, using it to their advantage because they're taking advantage of those supermoon rituals or their whatever they do, and they're pushing it through the wrong paradigm, the old understanding that, we're not doing barbaric lifestyle anymore. So I'm glad you have an understanding of some advanced technologies and wisdom, ancient or otherwise. However, we're still not doing the age of Pisces. So let's pull up into understanding that during a blue moon, a supermoon, what are we looking at? We've got the blue moon is the expression of our true authentic selves, right? It's the second full moon in a month. That's why they're called the blue moon. Now the supermoon, this is the one where it brings in a little bit more of of interest, is the supermoon is going to amplify the intensity of the natural energy of the moon. So imagine that the expression of your authentic self is amplified. Okay, so you've got this supermoon intensity, which, by the way, the supermoon just means it's closest in visibility in its orbit to Earth, as we can see it, so it looks huge. And last year I remember seeing it when I went out. I just happened to be helping someone temporarily. I don't normally go out necessarily at night, but it was at whatever time it was that it had risen, and it was so big I felt like I could just reach up and grab a hold of it and give it a big old kiss. So I did. Yep, dorkfish and all, I sure did, because that was just amazing. It really brought me quite clear about my insignificance and my significance all at once. So anyhow, to also include the time of the date is August 30th for this particular iteration of the blue supermoon. It'll be August 30th at 0936 Eastern time. So anyhow, moving on, is that this is also the time when we're pulling in, because we've used some of our newer thought. We've still used our thought in a way that really hasn't been very supportive of life on Earth, because, well, look around, we can see that. Whatever our understanding of how we got here and why and all of that, that, and if there's some conspiracy and everything, are we at our personal satisfaction with things? Even if we think there's a conspiracy theory, even if we think that somebody's managing the whole scene and all of that, which, you know, put it out there, sure, okay, it's possible. It's still going to be necessary if you want to survive that whole thought process to kind of find a new way to gather information. Maybe want to turn the news off and start turning into the news that knows a whole lot more about Earth ops and is non-biased. It actually, it is biased in that it's always working for our good. However, it's not going to take a side. Gravity will not take your side if you try to defy and you can fly. And you're mad about it, you know, understand why it is that you're not able to fly independently, and stop letting people launch you out of buildings telling you that you can. That's a ego process that, as we continue to charge forward, ascending in our consciousness, man, it's not 555. It's just going to keep on changing, because that's what we're doing. We're evolving. So as we're moving through these celestial movements and all sorts of energy exchanges from outer space, and Earth, okay, Earth is firing off her own energy in a bunch of different directions, a lot of different ways. All of the grid is being lit up from the bottom because it's greeting that which is transmitting and bringing down from the top, you know. The divine grid is really infusing very heavily, and it's pulling into and pulling up the Earth's best energies, and it's really, really cleaning up all those icky little lines of communication where we used our minds very badly, and therefore distributed energy very badly in horrible exchanges that left a lot of imbalance all over the place. So what might be more beneficial to know in this process of how do we go forward, getting into the flow? The flow of the know. Careful what we're calling the flow of the know. Which flow do you want to know? Do you only want to know it through cosmology? Do you only want to know through astrology? Do you only want to know through Lutheranism or through Buddhism or Sufism or any particular thing? Do you only want to learn there? Because if we're stuck in any one place, it might keep us from being able to gather information that's coming. Because remember, divine matrix is infusing itself heavy. It's everywhere. And Earth grid is actually pumping and infusing. The more that light workers are marching around doing their work, and those timeline workers and grid workers and stuff, oh yes, they're infusing the little Earth warriors, man. They're planting all kinds of juicy crystalline beads of consciousness everywhere that are growing and developing all across the world. And we need those lines of communication to open up between a tree and someone sitting beneath it who might not necessarily look towards the tree, to give them some assistance in that if they're too easily distracted or too easily sat down with just astrology, for instance. You know, I'm a Gemini, therefore I'm going to sit down and listen to this reading, and I'm going to stick with that, rely on that, believe that, identify with it, and follow through with whatever that person said. And depending on the ethics, the ability, and the skill level, and the spiritual maturity and gifts of the person delivering that message, that may or may not be the best way to go with that. I'm going to tell you right off the top that it's not the best way to go with giving wholesale credence to and validation to anything you hear, even if it tings and bings inside you and says, ooh, I'm Gemini, and it seems to resonate. Cool, that's nice. It also resonates in Cancer and in Sagittarius and in Aquarius and in every other sign, because if we are all one, then we are all representations of every sign, which is already true. We hear that a lot, that we all have everything in our DNA and genetic understanding, because we're all living under the same constellation system. We're living under the same cosmology, so we all fall under that same system. We all have pieces and parts. And so the way that I look at practices of any kind or processes of understanding where I might gather information, intelligence gathering, the way that I actually do my intelligence gathering is that I listen to astrology, for instance, and I listen to many different readings. I don't just listen to my sun sign. I don't go spying on another sign hoping I find out what they're doing. That's tampering cosmically, and it has some prices that I'm not going to talk about now. I'm just saying that that's part of the spiritual responsibility and honor and dignity and respect that we hold when we carry the knowledge that peeking into other people's skill, ability, their life, or whatever, in any fashion whatsoever, if prying and peering and sneaking and peeking is legal in Earthland, then it would be legal in the cosmic spaces that created this. So the fact that we're not allowed to spy on other people and consider that legal, we do it, it's not legal. It's also not legal up there. So I'm very careful how I go into looking at my astrology readings and assuming that I'm going to get some information about that over there because I'm spying on that sign. And if we go digging into any kind of hollow records, folks, that's big cosmic no-nos. And I know we have people that give tours and all, and I'm not disparaging of anybody that will get you where you can go, that can help you. Pardon me, I retract that. Let me get it clear right here. Anyone that can help you get to where you can go get started. I really strongly urge you during these times, like right now, don't get locked down into any one identity. And if there's anybody who wants to sell you a ticket to ride, baby, into your own divine, say, you know, 1111, I think I'm needing to decline. I'm pretty sure I do, because wow, why do you need me to rely on you and give you a huge butt ton of money? Now, to a millionaire, $1,000 might not seem like a whole lot. However, to this millionaire, $1,000 wasted is absolutely a whole lot. A dollar wasted is used very badly, and I don't like that. That's not good spiritual hygiene to use it with your energy, your money, or any other resource that is naturally occurring in your world, okay? Or any resource that's flung your way unnaturally. You know, we can push back and we can manipulate and we can play the game of dominance. However, when we're evolving and we're still carrying that consciousness that now we're more evolved because we can do this and we can eradicate the bad guy, whoa, then we're hauling people through their Akashic records, defining what their life is, allowing them to get revenge on something that happened 3 lifetimes ago. Do you see the setup for how people 1212 can justify a lot of behavior that no. Astrology is ascending, in my opinion. I am not an astrologer, and I'm not disparaging of any practice. What I am disparaging of is the not most healed readers and people across the world, all over the place, wherever we are guiding people and asking them to believe something about themselves that helps them identify whether they can go forward or not successfully, or whether or not they need my help, your help, or some particular way to do it. And boy, that costs some money, by the way, but if you're really committed and totally spiritually dedicated, you're going to do it. See how things that could have some value get twisted and out of balance, and they will change and make this the upside down world that we're currently living in, which is why we're in the upside down world and things seem so weird. And we have zero veil going right now, you know, with this supermoon 1313. Thank you, manifest away, right? That veil, please avail the veil. Avail yourself. Allow yourself to look at this and say, am I just a Gemini? Am I just a so-and-so? Perhaps want to think about the idea that perhaps you've evolved, maybe want to look at your North Node material to help guide you towards some other practices that have nothing to do with astrology so hardcore. Because I know that there are quite a number of people that we get very dedicated to it because it's a good way to get us led in the right direction. But nowhere may we sit on our haunches and get lazy. We're still responsible for creating our own path, and the way that we listen to that information that's most helpful for me. And you know, this is just the way I live my life, is I'm looking to validate information I already know, or I have an inkling about, or I'm looking to separate the fuzzy lines there with there's some gray 1414 that I need to make go away. And there's some very rigid that I need to open up. And when that's happening, and I know that's happening, it makes it easier to discern, because I can really feel that happening in here. Somebody telling me how that's happening because we're going to go on a very high-priced tour in the cosmos. Uh-oh, you know, that's a highly specialized group of people that would buy that ticket, and that's why they cost so much, and extortion at every level. It doesn't matter. It's a brand new devil. 1444 just passed. So new level of understanding brings that new devil, and it brings the need to understand sacred knowledge on so many other levels than just the fundamental ones we may or may not be using right now. That's why astrology is a wonderful tool. However, it's only one entry point, and you're getting on a superhighway. That's just one entry point. You know, it's a great one. You know, it's one that many, we use that, we merge right on into that. But you get on into the superhighway. You can get up there and hop in from somewhere else over there. And a rock, a boulder, a tree, a bug, a piece of technology can speak to you. What? That sounds, I know. Open your mind, maybe, and see that there's a whole lot more to 3D, because the whole cosmos is opening up to expand into that 5D new earth reality. And there's some, by the way, I saw it, there's some debate somewhere, I guess, about fourth dimension density, or fourth density versus, again, why would I lock down into what's your story if that's it? Okay, cool. I'm looking to enter the superhighway. I don't care where you get on. Get on right there and just keep on going. And as long as we're not spitting backwards, and we're not telling people that that's the only way you get there, the minute somebody locks down a very narrow only, it doesn't go to the superhighway, it goes right to them. And I'm not piping my energy, my money, my resources, my support, or my stamp of approval on that, because that's why we have a problem. We have a whole bunch of sheep and not a whole bunch of leaders, you know, and we need not a whole bunch of, you know, leaders, because it appears that we already have that consciousness going of I'll be in charge. We need true sovereign people who are leaders of themselves and their own energy and their own resource and their whole bag of entity of everything that they are, everything ever happened, whether they believe in past lives, future lives, starseed, whatever. It's your sack to unpack. And how you do that, depending on your origins and how you're operating here and what your mission is and all that other stuff, you're going to need to do that very specifically to meet your needs, unless you want to be toiling around in a reading going, why is this the consistent reading over and over and over and over and over again? And readers are saying, yeah, it's not me, man. I'm delivering the news here. I'm piping in on what the news is, and I'm not, you know, I'm not doing this. This is me reporting what's already happened, you know. I didn't create that earthquake, and, you know, the news report is like, I didn't create the earthquake. I'm reporting on it. What you want me to do about it? I mean, if you want to be clear about it, go talk to the earthquake and whatever the source of that was that created it. Go to the Genesis, and that's my whole point. Go to the Genesis and hear of you. What's the beginning of you? And whatever you call that, however it develops, identifies, and unfolds, man, it's probably, definitely going to go through more than one discipline. And esoteric and spiritual woo-woo and all that other stuff isn't the only one. Of course, you're going to have people tell you, well, you have to fast for 45 days, and you have to be able to do this, and you have to be able to do that. Really? I don't know that I can really buy that, because we've had a lot of evidence of people that are banging and they're not doing any of those things, you know? We don't have a whole lot of anecdotal evidence about Tesla and his, you know, beliefs about the food that he ate necessarily. If we do, I'm ignorant enough to not know that about him. 1818. I'm just saying he understood what he was doing when he was in that creative space of his imagination, that, oh, creation is an imagination and I'm going to dig it right here. And then he went on to be very brilliantly talking about free energy and all kinds of stuff that explains why we feel so funky, out of control, and bizarre during cosmological movements, and why astrology is relevant to begin with, if it's relevant. And if it's not, it means your spirit team or your guides, your understanding something, your grid, your patterning knows where to find what is your guide, because everyone doesn't have to go through that system. That would be counterintuitive to even consider that it would. It takes away what is the sovereignty that we're here learning. Obviously, because we didn't come in here having it already when we're dependent out of the womb. So we can understand ourselves as more than just dependent and fiercely independent. We can understand ourselves as being quite independent with an interdependence on community. And there's nothing wrong with that. Right now we're trying to either or it. I'm either a badass or I'm just a waste of life, and we're neither. We are neither, no matter what any fool might tell you. That's a foolish thing to say. It's a foolish thing to be. It's a foolish thing to see, because it isn't true. There's nobody that has no value, and there's nobody that has more value than somebody else. We can just get right on over that whole ego struggle. And if we get into identifying real heavy with our Libra, we might think we're justice, or if we're the Sag and we're going to burn everything down, or whatever, cold, calculated. If we get into all of those stereotypes, they could be quite true. However, don't I want to know about, all the aspects of Gemini me, man? I'm clear. Okay, cool. I've investigated a whole lot of that. And now I'm into the Aries North Node. Cool. Well, what resonates about Capricorn right there? I wonder. And what about Pisces right there makes sense to me? What about my Pisces in me is pinging with that reading that I can identify and help myself understand my energy, my emotion, and how to resolve conflict that's very deep for generations sometimes that we have no conscious idea of, and really don't need a contract or a guide to dismiss it when it's no longer relevant. So I'm going to just leave it to you that science and sacred, pulling that together, that it's a beautiful, beautiful time to really align with the reality and the realness of the hardcore science, which gives you the framework, gives me the framework to help deal with the fact that the sacred is going to be implanting itself, and it's going to transition and seem a little weird. You might be seeing flickers of weird stuff, you might be feeling weird stuff. My electronic things have been popping weird. My animals are off the grid with and I felt all of this bizarre stuff. So as that hardcore science is telling me, relax, it's okay, because we understand energy, we understand frequencies and how they affect the body and colors, and we understand them. Even if the whole world isn't aware of it, science understands those carry an effect on the human body. So, and we get them from outer space. We've got a lot of action going on, as well as the collective consciousness of the people on the planet. When it's agitated, everything working in its nut roll, and it's not all working communally, it looks like a big hairy old mess. Looks like a lollipop that fell on the ground in my house, man. That thing was covered with, ew, right off the jump, right? And now we're in the middle of not trying to salvage that little lollipop like that. No. We're not going to just try to pick off the hairs. We got to actually cleanse it. And that's what that sacred infusion is we're cleansing our lollipop. And it's not some nasty little thing full of corn syrup. It just isn't. This is an organic process that's so beautiful and so tragic all at the same time, 2233, that is complicated sometimes in trying to deal with the wild vacillations and polarity swings, because the precious is absolutely precious. You see people preciousing up and doing gorgeous stuff, and they're beautiful, and then you also see, oh my goodness, would that not be the way that it is in that process, though? Because we pick up both ends of the stick, just like we would have positive aspects of being an Aries or whatever. We would be also able to express the not so great aspects, those challenging portions of that sun sign, or whatever it is, that identity, whatever label it is. And if we're really not working to understand that that needs to come to a balance that then can rise in consciousness, that's up out of the whole idea that I have to be developed and maintained and retained as a particular identity in some static point. It's a drop of information, a snapshot only. Otherwise, keep evolving. What would be the fun of getting overly identified in any one place? Even if you stay with something for a really long time. It's not like I won't just ever probably consider astrology. It's what's, you know, kind of piping over above us. So I'm going to always more than likely be connecting and considering it. However, I'm not going to lock down into believing that, oh no, somebody said my reading was this, and my twin flame, oh, we're well beyond that in our needs for our light workers and starseeds, healers, and others that are willing to activate. Get your downloads, your light codes, your activations, and your synchronicities, all of them. Ask for them and assume that's what they are, and then keep going beyond to get to your actualized star, because there's a lot more. There's so much more. The twin flame is really joining you and you with beautiful male, female, and then pulling it through to these places where the blue moon, supermoon, man, it's going to bring up all kinds of questions about how we intend going forward and what we ask for and what we're intending. If we're desperately seeking if we're desperately seeking our twin flame, and we have support by somebody we look up to who's telling us anytime now, you know, that twin flame's coming in. It's true. Anytime, your twin flame is right there, because the other half of you is waiting to say, please integrate me so that you can see the other side of me. And that's why hopping around in different readings, hopping around in different oracle experiences, hopping around in nature, all of it gives me the ideas of how I can relate myself to understanding better that, okay, I'm pinging with this flower this way, or I'm pinging with this sign while I'm listening to the reading this way, and it's affecting me. Why is it affecting me, I wonder? And I stop the video and we'll ask that question, because that's my soul answering the, hey, your twin flame, you were right. It's right here. And introducing itself to you, and you think it's going to run and kiss you on the lips and marry you right away. It might take a minute, because we've been separated for quite some time, most of us. So it's all a matter of really, really, really pressing forward with where did you lock down in any one story, and is it working for you? And if it's not, maybe you want to pry open the parameters of those glass ceiling stories that left you hanging with a view of something more, and no real tangible way to get there unless you pop the veil and shatter the boo-boo, and yeah, get on with you. So take care of yourself. I hope you've enjoyed your day. I hope you enjoy your day, no matter what part of the day you're in. And remember, get within your skin, because you're divine. It is so, so, so fine. Take care. I'll see you again next time. Be well, and happy supermoon.